Hello viewers, I'm Keerti Bhave. Welcome to this session on mechanical properties of metals. After going through this video, you will be able to define the properties of metals and understand the usage of metals on the basis of properties. Why do we need to know about the mechanical properties? Just give it a thought. A metal is selected for a purpose on the basis of its properties. Values for mechanical properties will help us predict its behavior under different circumstances. Remember, we will never like to use a metal whose behavior is unpredictable. Let us see the mechanical properties of metals. They are luster, sonority, malleability, ductility, hardness, toughness, tensile strength, and tenacity. Luster. Metallic luster is the property of metal that describes the amount of light that reflects off the metallic surface and it can be polished. The typical metallic shine by which we recognize a metal is called its luster. Sonority. Sonority is the typical sound which a metal makes when it is hit. All metals are not sonorous. High-density metals do not give the typical sound that is given by the low-density metals. Malleability of metal. It is the property of metals by virtue of which the metal can be hammered into shapes or beaten into sheets without cracking, breaking, or tearing. Gold, platinum, silver are some of the metals which have high malleability. Ductility of metal. It is the property of metal by virtue of which it can be stretched into length or drawn into wire without breaking. Gold and silver are metals with high ductility. That is, you can make very thin wires out of these metals. Hardness of metal. Hardness is the ability of the metal to resist wear or abrasion and resist penetration. Tungsten is the hardest metal found, while sodium and potassium are some of the softest metal known. In this table, we can see the Brinell hardness of different metals, alloys, and some compounds. Lead has a Brinell hardness of 5. Glass is having a Brinell hardness of 1550, while rhenium diboride has a Brinell hardness of 4600. Toughness of metal. The property of metal to resist repeated shocks or vibrations without breaking, cracking, etc. is called toughness. Gold, silver are tough metals, while tungsten is highly brittle, that is, its toughness is very low. Let us compare hardness and toughness. Hardness is the resistance to scratching, cutting, or abrasion, while toughness is resistance to fracturing. Hard materials are scratch proof, while tough materials are not easily breakable and can withstand high pressure. Hardness is measured by Rockwell-Brinell hardness test, while toughness is measured by impact toughness, notch toughness, fracture toughness, etc. Opposite of hardness is softness, while opposite of toughness is brittleness. Tenacity of metal. Tenacity of metal is measured by the weight which its wire can support without bending, cracking, or deforming. Tensile strength of a metal. Tensile strength of metal is the ability of the metal to carry a load without breaking, cracking, or elongating. It is the ability to resist pull without breaking. Tungsten has the highest tensile strength. Now, once the metal is selected for a particular purpose on the basis of the properties, then we need to give it some shape before we can actually use it. There are various techniques of giving shape. They are machinability, castability, forging, and extruding. Now, all metals cannot be machined, all metals cannot be casted, all metals cannot be forged, and similarly, all metals cannot be extruded, and therefore these become the properties of metals. Machinability. It is the property due to which a material can be easily cut by cutting tools to produce a desired shape and surface finish. Casting. The process of pouring molten metal into a cast or a mold and allowing it to solidify is known as casting. Metals with good fluidity and low shrinkage, or those which expand slightly on cooling, give good casts. By this process, intricate parts can be given strength and rigidity. Forging. The process of giving a predetermined shape to a piece of metal at sufficiently high temperature by using compressive forces is called as forging. Extrusion. Process by which a piece of metal is reduced in cross section by forcing it to flow through a die orifice under high pressure is known as extrusion. Now, once some shapes have been given, sometimes we need to join these shapes. Now, there are certain joining techniques like welding, soldering, and brazing. Now, all metals cannot be welded, all metals cannot be soldered, and all metals cannot undergo brazing, and therefore these also become their properties. Welding of metal. Welding is a fabrication process whereby two or more parts are fused together by means of heat, pressure, or both, forming a joint as the parts cool. Soldering of metal. A method of joining the metal surfaces by introducing a molten non-ferrous alloy with the melting point below 400 degrees Celsius between them is soldering. Soldering is a joining process used to join different types of metals together by melting solder. And solder is a metal alloy, usually made of tin and lead, which is melted using a hot iron. Brazing of metal. A method of joining the metal surfaces by introducing a molten non-ferrous alloy with the melting point above 400 degrees Celsius between them is brazing. Now, we have seen the different mechanical properties, the techniques of giving shape, and the techniques of joining the pieces of metal. I hope you have understood them and wish you happy learning. Thank you.